I'm going to call the July 20th meeting of the West Des Moines City Council to order and invite you all to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, good to see so many smiling faces out in the crowd. Please sign in.
Four members present.
All right, Ryan, have there been any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Your Honor.
Okay, can I get approval of the agenda as a motion to approve the
So
agenda? Okay, it's moved and seconded. Okay, please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, moving on to items 1A and B. We're going to start off with item 1A, which is a presentation of a proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month, July of 2026. I'm going to read this proclamation, and then we're going to move on to item 1B, and I will read the Cornbread Fed Week proclamation for July 20th through the 26th, and then we'll invite both groups that are here for this proclamation to join myself, the council, city manager, and anybody else that wants to join the picture down front. Okay, first the proclamation for Parks and Rec Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are essential to communities including West Des Moines, Iowa, and whereas parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region, and whereas parks and recreation promote healthy, active lifestyles, preventing chronic diseases and enhance mental and emotional health, and whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas parks and recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas parks and recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty and offer spaces for ages and abilities to connect with nature And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of West Des Moines recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City, Russ Trimble, Mayor of the City of West Des Moines, do hereby proclaim July 2026 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of West Des Moines, and I urge the citizens to celebrate Parks and Recreation Month and support efforts to promote parks and recreation programs in areas in our community. Okay, now the proclamation for Hip Hope Cornbread Fed Week, July 20th through 26th. Whereas Iowa's young people are among our state's greatest assets, and investing in their education, leadership, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement strengthens our communities and our future. And whereas Hip Hope Inc., a local nonprofit, strives to empower youth through mentorship, workforce development, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and leadership programming to prepare the next generation for lifelong successes. And whereas the 4th annual Cornbread Fed Week, to be held July 20th through the 26th, 2026, and celebrates the creativity, talent, resilience, and entrepreneurial spirit of Iowa's youth while encouraging them to envision and shape the future of their communities. And whereas this comprehensive campaign showcases youth ownership through a Gen Z lens across Iowa food, music, tech, fashion, art, health, and recreation, including a celebratory community bike ride honoring legendary mentor Kitty Weston Knauer, and whereas throughout the week, youth and community partners will showcase Iowa's culture through food, music, technology, fashion, art, health, recreation, and service, while honoring community leaders whose mentorship has inspired future generations. And whereas the celebration culminates with the Cornbread Renaissance Festival at Riverview Park, featuring youth-owned businesses, local vendors, live entertainment, culinary experiences, and opportunities for young entrepreneurs to demonstrate their talent. Now, therefore, I, Russ Trimble, Mayor of the City of West Des Moines, do hereby proclaim July 20th through the 26th as Cornbread Fed Week, and I call upon residents to celebrate Iowa's youth by recognizing their achievements, leadership, creativity, and entrepreneurial spirit while supporting opportunities that help them thrive and strengthen our communities. Okay, and with that, if I can get our Parks and Rec folks that are here for the proclamation to come down in front and take a picture with myself, the council, city manager, and anybody else who would like to join, and then we will have the Hip Hope folks come to take a picture down in front after that.
Well, we can't all be in just like one cell. Some people are gonna have to, I like that.
No, no one likes that.
Okay, I'll put it in around. Okay. That's what the couple here. Perfect. Thank you all.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for all All right. We can get the Hip Hope folks up here. Bo James and the crew.
Come on up, kids.
I'll keep going in the middle here. You guys stand in the middle. Come on, everybody. Stand up here. All the friends.
The good doctor is in. How are you, Vicky?
Doing well. How have you been?
Good to see you. Come on in.
There you go. Yep.
All right, Jamie's gonna take the picture. You get us on, or we can just.
Looks good. Yeah, these kids have all taken their. Good, everybody looks great. Thank you. Okay.
Hope you guys have a great week celebrating. We're sorry I'm not gonna be able to be here for the week. Sorry, I take one kid taking one kid from class. I leave Wednesday. Take care, guys. All right. With that, we're going to move on to item 2, Citizens Forum. Anybody here for a Citizens Forum? Anything that is not either part of public hearings or new business, come on up. Give your name and address for the record. We ask that you keep it civil and respectful into 5 minutes or under. And Dr. Vicki Longhill is going to lead the way. Vicki, give us your
Yes.
name and address for the record.
Good evening. Dr. Vicki Longhill, 136 10th Street. It's an honor to be before everyone in the dais this evening. And I'm standing here and I'm pleased to acknowledge and to give thanks to Larry Palmer, the president, Catherine Harrington, and the West Des Moines Community Foundation members, to Councilwoman Finette Elliott, and to Councilman Matt McKinney for their unwavering efforts to support the Eddie Davis Community Center during a time of true and urgent need. Allow me to share this story. Summertime in the city. It started when several community and business leaders were present online during the May City Council meeting when the hotel motel request for the Eddie Davis Community Center was denied. Well, immediately thereafter, Miss Catherine Harrington, call her a ram in the bush, she reached out to inform us of other grant opportunity and invited us to fill out an application with the West Des Moines Community Foundation. The application was submitted, and believe it or not, it was initially set aside. So what happened thereafter was a demonstration of selfless dedication in action. Our fearless city councilwoman, I'm calling her, Finette Elliott, stepped forward. True to her promise to stand with the community, she took action. And I thank you for your unwavering courage and boldness. You truly embody the confidence that together we can make things happen. You truly believe in that, and you demonstrate it through action throughout the city at all events. And I'm proud to see that we have you on the city council sharing in the way that you do. But you went further and you initiated some calls, and soon Councilman Matt McKinney responded without hesitation. With inspiration and sincere intent, he reached out to the West Des Moines Community Foundation, and although he's not here, I thank him beyond words. So their combined efforts opened the door for a second review, and the foundation, the application was submitted a second time. The foundation reviewed it and ultimately awarded the Eddie Davis Community Center a grant of $9,000 to install a new air conditioning unit. We have 2 air conditioning units, right? We have 2 air conditioning units, but one was out in, albeit it was out in the room where the 20-some youth were starting the camp June 1st. So the grant was granted. We was able to immediately install it, and air conditioning was installed. I mean, we improvised, right? I think it was a 50-inch or larger warehouse big fan was cooling off the room. It gave a little cooling effort, but it was loud as ever. So for a time, we was able to do that. So the help may not come when we wanted, but when we did, it was received right on time. So as I end, again, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the West Des Moines Community Foundation, Councilwoman Finette Elliott, and Councilmember Matt McKinney for your grace, your support, your belief in our mission in helping us help others. Without you, we would have been facing a long, hot summer inside a building. We truly could not have done it without you. And we have our youth here, and I think they want to share and say something.
right, guys.
Okay,
On your
real
feet.
quickly, I think I have a few minutes.
We would like to give a huge thank you from Hip Hope Inc. Youth Summer Camp with me, Regina the Good Mama Turner. We are here to say thank you to the West Des Moines Community Foundation because now we're no longer hot, we're cold. All right, so let's do this. Are you ready? Let's make that beat go. All right. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. West Des Moines Community Foundation. We're cold, 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 cold. Thank you. Now we're cold, 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 cold.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, that's a first for us. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, guys. We're glad that you're cold on a day like this, because it's like life-saving on a day like this, so. All right, well, thank you very much, Dr. Vicki Long-Hill. Lori, do you want to come up? Oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to overlook you there. Go ahead and give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Bruno Van Loo. I live at 2212 Vine Street, where my family chose in 2014 to hopefully spend the rest of our lives. I am just speaking plainly as a father, which is all I've wanted my whole life. 3 children who have or will fully go through West Des Moines schools. I have lived all over Iowa and Des Moines, having been born in Northwest Iowa in Sioux Center, and having gone to nearby Roosevelt and Drake University. West Des Moines checks all my boxes in terms of what we needed from our forever home community. We have easy access to all schools in the district, and we are proud to live on the Independence Day parade route. This is right after the parade, my son went to his second ever concert down in Des Moines for Sparta. Vine Street is one of the most well-known in West Des Moines. I'm here under circumstances I thought I'd been speaking about from a more general parental third-party perspective. And Lori and I have talked multiple times about righting the city, which she had in 2023 and 2024. But in light of my son's recent bike accident on Tuesday, July 7th at the intersection of 22nd and Vine, which we are 4 houses up from, I've been called to the issue of safety for all. And my wife and I are answering that call. We've watched for over a decade our beloved intersection, which is a 4-way stop, be more of a suggestion for many drivers, car, truck, motorcycles, and bikes alike. Now everyone is also seeing the increasing prevalence of e-bikes, e-scooters, and communities all over the metro, including ours, are beginning to research and implement the proper safeguards. Thank you. And we were so lucky this time. Luckily, maybe the worst to come out of this was 2 families being a bit more wary and 2 children who are going to watch their surroundings more closely before they enter intersections. Another 3 seconds and 6 inches further back on his new bike he got that same day, and we'd be having a different conversation. I loathe to even conjure the image in my mind. Next photo, please. This is a photo of the concert the day after that he would have missed at Vibrant Music Hall. I promise if you've never seen a dead family member on a cold slab from avoidable circumstances, you don't ever want to. My favorite 15-year-old cousin Sean died in a car accident in 2003 just down the street from my parents' house near Easter Lake. While in a car, the driver was drag racing, and we had to be reminded of a hard lesson that night, that seatbelts save lives. This is a photo fishing from Easter Lake last weekend, that Saturday after. It's the best fishing day me and Bainey have ever had. Now I have the opportunity to educate my own children on street safety and what they can control. Being in a community this great and mostly safe, people have always given into a confident sense of invincibility and safety. We are quickly reminded we are not so much in control. This is my son, Bainey. Bainey is everything I've ever wanted in a boy son. He's the 4th generation oldest son of the oldest son in my family, which does carry some archaic cultural paternal importance. Bain Henry Van Loo, or as I've called him, BVL 2.0, the system upgrade. He is my mini-me, but he has always been my better than me. Bain was born on Friday the 13th, January 2017. He was the 13th baby born that day. We stayed in room 13 at the hospital, and he was 6 pounds 7 ounces. He was born on Friday the 13th as his middle namesake Henry, great-grandfather on his mother's side, was born along with another grandfather born on January 13th. Lastly, my first email address is vanlowb13 because 13 is my all-time favorite number. To say that was a sign and he's all I've ever wanted is a gross understatement. His mother raised an empathetic, emotional human being, the kind of person we should want for this world. When the accident happened, it stopped me in my unintentional negligence. I reacted with a slow the expletive down sign in my driveway that same Tuesday night and have been outside each night for the past 2 weeks as much as I could. And it has seemed to slow some expletives down. My poli-sci professor at Drake always says the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I've trusted you elected members of the city council to do the right thing. And just as my sign is a reaction to what happened. I still appreciate the city also reacting within 6 days and putting back up the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign near our home, and the West Des Moines PD for setting up the temporary speed radar up near 27th and Vine. It is time to be squeaky and speak up so we aren't talking about worst-case scenario next time, and I won't think I could be so nice if all I'm seeing is thoughts and prayers. Our community isn't broken, it just sometimes needs reminders. I've spoken with friends and work peers in other Midwest states, and sometimes we don't remember that we are lucky to feel safe in our community because there are many places that aren't that lucky. When I hear family and friends and other parents in our locale express no longer they let their kids use Vine Street because it has become more dangerous for them, hearing that breaks my heart living on that street. I know there are other roads in West Des Moines that are experiencing the same safety threats, so I can only speak from firsthand knowledge about my street. I know we can come up with many low-effort, high-impact solutions that benefit everyone, including the mental health of our fine first responders, EMTs, West Des Moines Fire Department, West Des Moines Police Department, and all who showed up upon my 911 call within 2 minutes. Lastly, thank you to all those who stepped up immediately because, as one officer stated, we all showed up as quick as we could because in our experience, we've come to expect the worst when it's a 9-year-old on a bike in a car accident. I will not be here again under worst case circumstances. I will be back here every other week if that's what it takes to be a distraction, because a worse distraction would be balloons and flower wreaths, crosses and bouquets on my beloved corner. To quote the greatest actor of our generation, I am not going to bury my son is going to bury me. These last two photos are from the past week. We went to his first Barnstormers game, and the last photo is we went to Waterloo for Lost Island and go-karting, where all my kids promptly passed me, which is the way it should be, apparently. And also, Bain brought in, we built a V8 engine together last weekend. So thank you so much for your time.
Cool. Thank you for being here. All right. Lori.
Now it's my turn. All right. Good evening. My name is Lori Van Lowe, 2212 Vine Street in West Des Moines. Just for your reference, I'll send you everything that I'm speaking about, including references, in an email after, so you don't have to remember everything. You've already heard from my husband. As I was speaking to people in the community the last 10 days while gathering support for a petition, I learned accidents with pedestrians and bikers are not uncommon. In West Des Moines, we are already over 500 accidents in 2026, and 100 of those involve a minor under the age of 18. Here's a quick map that shows not exactly what we all want to see, but it's realistic. At the intersection of 22nd and Vine Street, a car struck my child on his bike while he was crossing the intersection. We were lucky. This was best case scenario in this instance. The driver misread the intersection and caused very minimal damage, some scraped elbows, and dented the front wheel. As someone that lives just a few houses down from this intersection, though, I fully understand just how lucky we are to have this driver be the one that was driving, because we see hundreds of cars pass down Vine Street. They're going over 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, coasting through intersections, not watching for pedestrians, and kids on e-bikes traveling far too fast. The driver was not doing any of those things, and the intersection was still not a safe place for a child. Many neighbors have had very close calls or avoid the area altogether, or other areas because of these dangers. The thought of my child suffering due to inadequate road design and safety measures is something no parent should have to endure. West Des Moines does so many things wonderfully, but after talking to family members, road safety is not one of them. We need to do better. We can do better. I have a petition with over almost 150 signatures from different community members that I've gathered in the last 10 days that are all just people that live here, work here, use our community amenities. I spoke to people at Holiday Pool. They want to see improvements. I spoke with people in local community meetings. They want the improvements. I spoke with coworkers and neighbors. All of them want improvements. And visitors to our area deserve that safety as well. Actually, a gentleman that I work with was going to attend and share his story of his bike accident that he had off of 50th Street tonight. But he took a stumble right before, and now he's at the hospital getting an MRI to make sure the pins in his neck are okay. So that sucks. In the petition, I mentioned 3 of the best ways to see improvements at intersections and on streets, and the large strategy is called traffic calming. The 3 best ways to see improvement are through deflection, constriction, and friction, all meant to calm down traffic. These need to be implemented in areas like 22nd and Vine, 23rd and Ashworth, Vine Street and Grand, areas going down EP True or Ashworth or 50th Street, and many others. I especially want Councilman Hudson, on the Public Safety Committee, and Councilwoman Elliott on the Bicycle Advisory Committee to gather more information from fellow members. I want to see complete streets. This is where transportation planning, design ensures safe, streets and that are accessible and convenient for everyone, including pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, and transit riders. I want to see continuous sidewalks, colorful crosswalks, great bike lanes, narrow travel lanes, small roundabouts. We can prioritize safety over speed. Take Vine Street, for instance. From First to Ashworth, it's about 2.5 miles. Portions of it are more narrow and have parking on the side, and traffic tends to stay closer to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. But between 22nd and 27th, I see people going nearly 40 miles an hour. I've been passed on it myself when I myself was already a few miles over. I've called on every concerned citizen of West Des Moines to stand with me and voice their shared demand for safer streets. And I have the petition with the signatures from the last 10 days. The majority of people want walkable, drivable areas, but also understand the cars are a big part of transportation. There is so much research out there for how to make streets safe for all. The petition shows support for safety at intersections and on our streets, and no one wants to be the person that hits a kid on a bike, and nobody wants to be the person hit by a car. West Des Moines has visitors and people that travel and come here often, especially with the new Grand Experience coming. We need to ensure people feel safe doing so. We need our friends and neighbors to feel that they can let their kid ride to school on their bike safely. We need people to know the rules so they aren't riding mini motorcycles around at too young of ages. And we need to have good education that bridges the gap between the laws y'all make and the actual people on the streets. The changes I've mentioned in the petition are my favorites because they don't rely on catching people doing wrong or people happening to read a poster, but promote safety. Things like crosswalks with lights, but you have to push a button, create an obstacle. Having police put up a speed camera helps temporarily. Thank you for that, by the way. But these things are temporary. And we want safety. This means that we need to do something that maybe is time consuming up front, but in the long run betters our community. Painted intersections, protected bike lanes, etc. They'll generate better outcomes for citizens and businesses. We just have to choose our hard. Is it going to be some time and money or people's safety and lives? Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. All right, come on up. Give us your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Marnie Stedham, 1225 28th Street. I'm here tonight to also call for traffic calming measures in our neighborhoods. Now, I'm privileged to have only had close calls and not a family member hit by a car. What happened here wasn't a freak accident. It was a predictable result of a systemic issue, our city's persistent resistance to traffic calming. For years, the priority has been to keep streets wide and increase limits. We are prioritizing vehicle speed over being able to live in and enjoy the neighborhoods we live in through biking, walking, and even getting to know our neighbors. My own street is close by to where this happened, and indeed also serves as a detour from the same construction project that is diverting traffic onto Vine. It is a prime example of this dangerous design. The road is a wide north to south cut through between two major thoroughfares, Ashworth and University, with a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour. Nobody drives 25. When the city placed a digital radar sign right next to my house, which has since been removed, I could sit stuck in my own car, in my own driveway, and watch as it continually flashed 45 miles per hour or even in excess as motorists flew by. Worse, we'd see people actively speed up when they saw it. Hell, I've even had people nearly hit me in their impatience to get around me as I attempted to turn into my own driveway. These are residential neighborhoods, but we can't enjoy living here. As a pedestrian or cyclist, things are even worse. We have zero pedestrian safety. To use my own street as an example, there is not a single crosswalk on the entire stretch of 28th Street between Ashworth and Westtown Parkway. This despite heavy school traffic, kids and adult cyclists trying to navigate severe blind spots caused by the hills. We have loss of neighborhood quality. Someone literally took out our mailbox. Walking my dogs is an exercise in analyzing traffic timing and patterns to avoid the worst of it, leaving me to head out at roughly 5:45 a.m. Crossing the street, good luck. Even using the existing sidewalks is a miserable experience because of the constant noise of motorists revving engines and speeding. This is compounded by detours. As I alluded to earlier, the issue has peaks with the ever-present construction on Ashworth. In this case, it is the exact same construction project which created the detour routes where that kid was hit, and it's sending a separate branch of detour traffic onto 28th Street. Drivers are driving haphazardly and speeding to catch up on their commutes. Frustratingly, at the same time, traffic calming has fallen on deaf ears a mile away on the other side of the interstate in the Valley West Mall area. The city talks about wanting to make the area more walkable. What does walkable mean? What does walkable mean if nobody can actually enjoy it? When the city's idea of walkable is wide straight lanes, destroyed property, no crosswalks, blind spots, and now a kid hit by a car. We have an opportunity here to make things better. Where I live, it's very park-like, but we can't enjoy it. I strongly urge the city to shift its philosophy and take action to improve our streets immediately. We need permanent, physical traffic calming measures across our neighborhoods. Stop designing our streets like highways and start thinking about the people who live and vote here.
All right, come on up, give us your name and address for the record.
I saw your sign one day, I gave you away, and I totally respect what you're trying to do. Hello, my name is Martin Gustafson, and I live at 3202 Woodland Avenue, and I'm here to discuss the weed and vegetation violations that I've been receiving. Right here on my shirt, I have a pin that says the City of West Des Moines, with a black ruby, and it says 38. And that was something that my Uncle Marty earned for working for the Public Works for 38 years. So and here's his nameplate. And so I'm just trying to show you that I have a reputation that I'm trying to uphold, and I'm not trying to be a nuisance as I have been declared. So I'm here to kind of clear that out if I can. Just over time, through some of my experiences, I have just seen amazing things and developed a deep connection with nature. Like I see and I enjoy it so much, and I can feel it feels me out there too. So that's kind of why what I've been trying to bring back to my yard, to give back to nature, just kind of like how the park and recs were trying to promote health and safety for the community. Well, I'm in a sense trying to do the same thing in my yard. So, and so, was that for me? Oh no, you're fine. Okay. So yes, again, I'm just here to try to find a balance, just in between the extreme measures of cutting everything below 10 inches. When I don't see these as plants, I see these as plants and not weeds, as they are called. And I would sure like to be shown. If somebody could come through my yard and show the weeds that aren't allowed, and to promote the natural native plants that are beneficial and that exist here. So when I cut my grass and I mow it, like I become where I feel physically ill. Like I feel so bad for all the terror and the destruction that I'm causing as I cut down the grass. Like when my yard was abated this year, I noticed there wasn't as many lightning bugs that emerged out of the ground as there were last year because of the mowing that came through and destroyed and killed all of that. So, and then also just my yard captures a lot of loose litter and trash. And, in memory of my Uncle Marty, I just picked that up because he would walk around the neighborhood and picking up all the loose trash. So that's just how I try to honor, and I'm not trying to be a nuisance. And so, in the state, like 93 to 98% of the land has been biologically altered. Over 99% of the tall grass prairies are gone. Like 95% of the wetlands are gone. Half of the forests have been disappeared. And then now Iowa has like the second highest cancer rate in the nation. Has the loss of biodiversity caused some of that maybe? Because, an estimated 16 million pounds of glyphosate are applied through the farm fields, along with 53 million pounds of herbicides and pesticides, and, which get into our streams and pollute our water quality. And down in the Gulf of Mexico, there's a dead zone that's ranges from 3,000 square miles to 6,000. And over the 5-year average is about 4,200 square miles, which is roughly double the size of Delaware. And that's where marine life doesn't live, and like there's no oxygen in the water to have marine life there. So, and even from one of my experiences from 2020 to 2025 was an extended period of a drought, and the amount of plants that showed up on the river bottoms and the gravel bar was something I've never seen. It was just a vast amount of plants took over. But up on the Des Moines River, when the water came up and it receded, on the gravel bar, it was just covered with white, and it killed all the plants, and there weren't a single insect on there. So that just kind of indicates like how polluted our water is if it kills all the plants. And you know, when that dries up and all that stuff blows around and get in our air that we have to breathe. So you might not see it, but you know, those toxins, that's one way of these toxins showing up. So I'm just trying to find a way where I can have the ability to promote the biodiversity in my yard. And I'm kind of making a request for a hold and a pause with the legal matters that I'm facing until we get this issue resolved, because I've came to the council meeting for my second time. At the beginning of the month, I was at the code.
I need you to wrap it up.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
I got to be
this is the
fair
last
to
thing, I
everybody,
understand.
and if I let everybody go on and on, then I've got to bring everybody else back up.
I'm aware of my time. Thank you.
All
The
right.
last thing I would like to say is that, I'm just trying to ask for a pause with the legal litigation that's going on until we can find a solution for what I'm trying to find the balance in, because I went to a community compliance meeting last month and discussed, different ideas that we could meet where it could not be a nuisance. So,
Okay, well, thank you for being here and presenting. I would encourage you to continue to talk to staff, so.
okay, would you be able to grant,
We can't grant anything. We got to enforce our laws that are on the books. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I hear your
Okay.
plea, but we've
Okay.
got to enforce the laws that we have on the books.
I
So
understand,
until
and-
the law gets changed.
okay, and I understand because I want to follow the laws. Just
I hear you.
And be a good citizen. So thank you for
Okay,
your time.
well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. All right, MJ, come on up and shed some light upon us.
All right. So many good things I've heard from people about our roads and stuff, and I'm all on board. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. So I'm Jay Hoag, 413 2nd Street. So I'm here to talk about item 5B. So for those of you in the audience, I know you guys know this, but for those in the audience who don't, July of last year, the state legislature removed gender identity protections from state law. Then when they found out some cities like West Des Moines also include gender identity protections in their own code, declared no adsies, backsies, and passed a law in March of this year saying municipalities cannot protect people beyond state law. So 5B is our city coming into alignment with that by removing gender identity and a few other protections from city code. So the last time I talked about this item, some of the things I heard from you guys, we do want to protect people, but we want to minimize the risk to the taxpayer, and we absolutely positively have to follow the law. So here I am left with trying to answer the question, well, how do you protect people while following a law that says you can't protect people? That was a real conundrum, but I think I have an answer for that. Because while the state did remove gender identity, they left sex. And as it turns out, that's an important distinction, or rather an important indistinction, because the Supreme Court issued a very relevant ruling here in 2020. Bostock v. Clayton County, the court found that discrimination based on gender identity is, by necessity, also sex-based discrimination. Now, I would argue under that ruling, if we failed to protect people based on gender identity, we'd be in violation of the law. But of course, state legislators might disagree. So to minimize the risk there, I think what we can do is, rather than removing it entirely, we just we move it. So rather than being a separate item, we can put it after sex in parentheses, so it might read sex, including gender identity. Now that makes it clear to our residents, to our contractors, to state lawmakers that we are absolutely, positively following state law, but it also makes it clear to everyone we are following the guidance from the Supreme Court about what that means. We gotta follow the law after all, right? Now, unfortunately, there are still some things in there that would end up getting removed because to come in compliance with state law, so it is not a 100% solution, but it is, in my very non-legal, non-lawyer opinion, a potentially defensible justification for retaining and, importantly, enforcing gender identity protections. Thank you.
All right, thank you, MJ. All right, anybody else for a citizens forum in the council chambers? If not, I will go to the online folks to see if anybody else online would like to address the council on citizens forum. Okay, is there anybody online that would like to address the council on citizens forum? Please hit *6 to unmute yourself and give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, *6. Okay, I think I hear somebody.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and give us your name and address for the record, and you've got 5 minutes. We'd ask that you keep it civil and respectful. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you. This is Eva Morales. I reside at 7490 Raccoon River Drive. I had a chance to speak and share my concerns regarding the Grand Experience project at the special council meeting that took place on July 20th. I do appreciate receiving a written response, and I recognize that staff has made an effort to address a lot of the concerns that I raised. But after reading the response, I am left with a lot of the same questions and maybe even more questions than answers. Throughout the letter, the city's position is essentially that important details, including traffic impacts and parking, lighting, and noise analysis, will all be studied during a future review process. And I do understand that additional review is anticipated, but those future studies do not eliminate the very real concerns that exist for me, my family, and our household today. So again, as the property owner immediately adjacent to the proposed development, I continue to be asked to trust that future analysis will adequately address the impacts that could fundamentally change the use and enjoyment of our home. And once approvals are granted and substantial investments are made, it becomes, I think, increasingly difficult for neighboring residents to influence the outcome. And so while I do appreciate that the city is committed to using public funds to fund the noise study, again, I feel that that study would be conducted after major approvals have already been granted. And it raises, I think, some obvious concerns about how we as residents and citizens can meaningfully evaluate the project before knowing what its impacts will actually be. And I think the same is true for traffic. So again, not here to oppose reasonable economic development. I understand that projects evolve and studies are part of that planning process. Just asking that the decisions that affect nearby residents be made with complete information instead of just assumptions that unanswered questions will eventually be resolved. So again, regarding agenda item 5A, we just ask that the city hold off and slow down and not approve the second reading of the ordinance and not waive the third or final readings of the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Okay, is there anybody else online that would like to address the council for citizens forum? Hit *6 to unmute yourself. All right, with that, citizens forum is closed. We're going to move on to item 3, mayor, council, manager report, other entities update. And I'm going to start down to my left with Councilman Lotz.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a quick update for everybody and for some of the speakers who are here today. Coming next week, we'll be having a public safety meeting, and Councilman Hudson and I will be taking up the bicycle thing, which includes some of what we talked about tonight, but also the e-bikes and safety around that. Chief Bellamy and other staffers have been working on this. We've seen other ordinances go in places like Waukee and Ankeny and others, and so we're trying to do a best of breed. We're letting some other folks, we're taking pieces from other people's stuff, and we're dialing in on this issue. So just wanted to let everybody know, Your Honor.
Well, I really appreciate you and Councilman Hudson and staff looking into this and working to get something on the books. You know, it's good. We've seen, like you said, some of the other communities put some things out there, and we're able to learn from some of the mistakes that they may have made early on when trying to get ahead of this. And I think we're at a good pace, taking a look at this and going to come forward with a really good ordinance. And I've got all the confidence in the world in you all, our public safety folks, and the rest of the staff that are working on this ordinance. So thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it. All right, Councilman Trevelyan.
Nothing this time.
All right, Councilwoman Elliott, any report?
I'll try to keep it short.
No, you can take your time. Go ahead.
I'm actually just going to go over all the places that I've been. I won't go into the people that I've met because I keep meeting lots of people. I love people. I attended the DART Commission meeting. Let's see, I'm going to let Greg do the update for finance. Let's see. I went to something that was very, very impactful. It was the First Responders Appreciation Breakfast. It was given by Edgewater Retirement Community, and it just warms your heart. We had police officers, EMS, firemen, firepersons coming. It was a free breakfast. It was the community, this retirement community, it was their way of giving back and saying thank you. So if anyone from Edgewater Retirement Community is listening, I praise you, I thank you, I bless you. Our first responders need acknowledgement. Let's see, I also attended, there is a group called Cups of Kindness. It was started by a teacher in the West Des Moines school system, her and her husband. They had a camp, and it culminated with being out at Westridge School. And you could just go to any of the stations and purchase materials that were created by these students. A lot of them, the students, they are children with special needs. They're wonderful. By them having the various booths, they had an opportunity to speak with individuals that would come and build their self-confidence and then remind them, you guys are going to be okay. Let's see, I'm going to probably turn some of this over to Greg again. Greg and I attended the school board city council meeting. A lot of items that were discussed. This was my first time attending, and it was very heartwarming because as long as I was on the school board, my belief remains there should be a connection with what is going on at the schools and for the city awareness. So I'm very happy and pleased to be part of the subcommittee that listens to what the schools are saying. They listen to us, but it's a true partnership. So I actually thank you. I'm honored to be on that committee. Let's see. On my own, safety, I attended the United Way funds a program called Safe and Thriving Youth. I attended that last week. Gave me an opportunity to understand some of the things that the United Way is doing and some of their subgroups in terms of providing a safe environment for our youth. I will go ahead and take it upon myself. I'm going to start going to their monthly meetings. These are individuals in Des Moines, Windsor Heights, a lot of the suburbs, as everyone comes together to address safety and making things safe for our youth. Last but not least, I attended Clive Fest. I must thank our neighbors at Clive. It was a very good event. I had the honor to keep talking to the police chief of Clive. I say I have the honor because I have a habit of going on and on and on. But I thank the chief of Clive for the things that he's doing in his community. He also shared with me the ordinance that they created in terms of motorbikes and everything. And he graciously is working with West Des Moines in terms of providing the information as far as what was done in Clive. But the Clive Festival was a very nice festival. Yeah, I think that's it.
even though they had to cancel their giant water slide due to the watering ban, right? I mean, don't they have that? It's very, very responsible of them to do that. Very responsible, but man, that looks like a lot of fun, so. All right, I would just say quickly before I pass it on to Councilman Hudson that, you know, it's great to have you on the city school committee that we have. And, you know, when Councilman Hudson got elected, it was my goal to kind of beef that subcommittee up, have the subcommittee meet more often. I think we, you know, the school, as you know, our schools are our #1 economic development driver. This is why people decide to move in West Des Moines, is if we have great school districts, and which we do. And we need to work to keep our schools #1. We need to work to partner with them whenever we get a chance to do so. And through this city school subcommittee, we have a chance to talk to one another back and forth, share ideas, and figure out if there's some place that we can work together to create some efficiencies in delivery of government services and whatnot. And I know that this subcommittee has done a lot of great work over the years, and it's great. As a teacher of Valley High School and as a former school board member, I have all the confidence in the world, you two, on this subcommittee. So it's a great subcommittee, and it's just going to get stronger and stronger.
Mr. Mayor, it should also be said that not all school districts and municipalities get along. Like in some locales, they are at odds with one another. They don't like one another. They will actively work against each other, which is something I don't get at all. So
Those are the communities that are about to go into decline.
Yeah, because I don't get it, but I'm happy that our relationship is strong. So
no doubt about it. All right, Councilman Hudson.
Yeah, had a few things to share. In the world of finance and administration subcommittee, since I serve as chair, I know that Finette has been meeting with a lot of folks, but this past month, I decided to really lean into the administration part of it, and so I decided to meet with all the department directors. So I've met with the city manager, deputy city manager, city clerk, city attorney, the directors of community economic development, development services, EMS, fire, engineering services, finance, human resources, human services, library, parks and rec, recplex, police department, public services, and just last week, our new councilwoman, Elliott. So I decided to meet with all of them to see how our city's doing and to see what ways we can get better. So I wanted to thank all of them for being gracious enough to inviting me into your office or having a good conversation. Very, very great. They're all in the back of the room right now, so I just want to say thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate the jazz hands, Jamie. That was great. As it were, I think our city is in really, really good shape. And it certainly took a little bit, but I'm incredibly proud of our city. I'm incredibly proud of our staff. As a city manager, Tom, you have a lot to be proud of. There are always things we can work on. There are always things we can improve. We've already had a meeting talking about things we can do at the margins to make things better. But just want to say congratulations to our kick butt staff who do a tremendous, tremendous job. And I think before I give up the mic one more time, I just want to look at Bruno and Lori. And young sir, what was your name one more time? Bain. I got to say, first off, your parents seem awesome. Your concerts and your Barnstormers game, it seems like it's been a real kick butt summer. So that is awesome. Bain, I'm so happy that you're all right. I know that you got scraped up a bit, but I'm really, really happy that you're all right. And I just want to let you know that we are, and everybody in the city is thinking about you, and we're going to see what we can do to make Vine better. So thank you for being here. It's been a long meeting. You've been here almost an hour, man. And so you're hanging in there. Anyway, definitely want to thank Bruno, Lori, and everyone who shared during Citizen Forum. So thus concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Appreciate your report. I was wondering why staff emailed me and said, when does school start again? But no, and Westcom says they're waiting to meet with you at some point. Just kidding, just kidding. Appreciate you doing all that work, Greg. All right, City Manager Haddon, any report?
I have no report, Your Honor.
Short and sweet. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to item 4, consent agenda. Are there any items that any council person would like to have pulled and voted on separately? Otherwise, I would ask for approval.
Motion for the remainder.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved as is. It's been seconded. Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, moving on to item 5, old business, item 5A. We've got establishment of the Grand Experience TIF District. We've got an ordinance for approval of the second reading, waiver of the third reading, and adoption in final form. There are no outstanding issues and no changes from the previous reading, which was adopted unanimously by the council at our last meeting.
Motion to consider the second reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the dais? I would simply say that at the appropriate time, all those concerns that Eva brought up are going to be looked into and studied. We've got quite a bit of experience in studying sound, as you know, with the Val-Air Ballroom several years ago, as well as the rock quarries that have been brought into the city. We've done an extensive review of sound and how that travels, and we've even changed the weighting for how we measure sound to go to a C-weighted scale as compared to whatever scale it was on before.
Well, and I
But-
think to your honor, it begs to be said, for Ms. Morales, this is just establishing a TIF district.
Yep.
Right? Nothing
That's
else has
correct.
been done here.
That's
So,
correct. There will be a lot more studies, traffic studies, sound studies. We will do our due diligence like we always do on every single economic development project that has ever come before us. This will be no different, and we really appreciate, I want to say, Ms. Morales is bringing this forward to our attention. I understand her concerns, and we will go and look at all these things at the appropriate time as this project moves forward. So, okay, with that, please vote.
4 yes. 4 yes, an ordinance providing the general property tax is levied and collected each year on all property located within the consolidated Grand Experience urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines, be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to an indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by the city in connection with the consolidated Grand Experience urban renewal area.
Motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
4 yes.
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 5B, Amendment City Code, Title I Administrative, Chapter 10, Finances, Section 9, Non-Discrimination, Title II, Boards and Commissions, Chapter 9, Human Rights Commission, Section 4, Responsibilities, and Title 7, Public Ways and Properties, Chapter 12, Library Regulations, Section 2, Rules and Regulations. We've got an ordinance amendment for approval of the second reading, waiver of the third reading, and adoption in final form. There are no outstanding issues and no changes from the previous reading, which was adopted unanimously by the council at our last meeting.
Motion to consider a second reading.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 by amending Title I Administrative, Title II Boards and Commissions, and Title VII Public Ways and Property. Motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
4 yes.
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 5C, Plata Survey, parcel 23-55, southeast corner of Grand Avenue and South 88th Street. Reapprove Plata Survey to consolidate multiple parcels to create one 84.3 acre parcel for clarification of legal description, W&G McKinney Farms. We've got a resolution for reapproval and release of the Plata Survey. There are no outstanding issues. There are, however, 3 standard conditions of approval that we often see with an item like this, one related to the transfer of ownership and the requirement of the future owner to do public improvements, one regarding the things that need to happen prior to the construction occurring on the site, and one condition of approval related to the requirements of storm sewer easements to be executed prior to development. With that, can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and second. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, please vote.
4 yes.
All right, item 5D, Plata Survey, 23-55, southwest or southeast corner of Grand Avenue and South 88th Street, approval and acceptance of storm sewer easement, W&G McKinney Farms LC. We've got resolutions for acceptance, approval, of storm sewer easement, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion approved.
Okay, is there a second? It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 6, public hearings. Item 6A, this is a time and a place for public hearing to consider Glen Oaks 700 My Way, amend the plan unit development ordinance to modify regulations for fencing and ground signage initiated by Paramount Destination Home, Inc. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
July 1st, 2026 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 5 yes with 2 absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the PUD amendment.
Okay, anybody in the audience would like to address the council on this item, please come to the podium here, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 and do the same. Is there anybody either in the council chambers or online that would like to address the council on item 6A? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and we've got an ordinance amendment to the planned unit development for approval of the first reading, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion to consider the first reading.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have one comment, and it's for staff.
Okay,
As I was reading this today, I was wondering, why do we not have processes for these things and have to go through an ordinance amendment? And maybe it's because it's a planned unit, a PUD. But like, this seems like a lot of work for somebody to adjust their PUD to go from 6 feet to 8 feet on the fence. So I'm just curious about that.
Lynn Tweet, Director of Development Services. State code requires us to bring rezoning matters as a public hearing item.
So we should go up to the hill and
Yeah, please do
bark
it.
at them, huh?
If you can get that one done, we'd be happy with that.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
all right. Any other discussion on the dais before we vote? All right, hearing none, please vote.
Four yes, and it's amending the city code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, and the Glen Oaks PUD ordinance pertaining to Plan Unit Development District regulations and guidelines.
Motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 6B, this is a time and a place for a public hearing to consider West Des Moines Community Schools east of Mill Civic Parkway and north of Fuller Road, amend the Southwoods Knoll planned unit development to remove Valley Stadium from the PUD and establish a new West Des Moines Community Schools PUD initiated by the West Des Moines Community Schools. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
July 6, 2026, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 5 yes with 2 absent, adopted resolutions recommending approval of the PUD amendment and establishment of the new West Des Moines Community Schools PUD.
All right, anybody in the audience would like to address the council on item 6B, please come to the podium here, give us your name and address for the record. If you're online, hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody either online or in the council chambers would like to address the council on this very controversial item? Okay, once again, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We've got 2 ordinance for approval of the first reading, and we need to take them separately. First, we've got an ordinance amendment for approval of the first reading to amend the Southwoods Knoll PUD by taking Valley Stadium out of the PUD. Do I have?
Motion to consider the first reading.
Okay, there's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Is there any discussion on the dais?
I think this is kind of one of the things we're talking about. And, as the West Des Moines School District is getting started with a new project over here that's going to include some more parking as well, I think we as a city have a choice. We could be really difficult, completely unnecessarily, or we can work together as partners. I think we all know what we're going to do, but I'm very, very supportive.
Sounds good. I figured you might be. For the people in the audience, we're essentially taking Valley Stadium out and putting it in the new PUD, which we're going to pass an ordinance for here in a second. So really not a huge change to be done. All right,
Not
anybody
a huge
else?
change, but it's a good.
It is a good
I was
change.
talking to Superintendent Adams about this the other day, and it's a good example of how we work together on these things.
No doubt about it.
Well, if you look at that, Ryan, could you pull up the map for this right here and just show everybody? And I think this is a good example of what we're talking about. If you look at the map of basically which property belongs to the city of West Des Moines, which property belongs to the school district, and you'll notice that, it's mostly a straight line. But there's like this little corner, this little triangle that's cut out, and it's city property that juts kind of down a little bit. You can kind of see that it's just to the south of City Hall. It's just this little triangle that just juts down. If the school district goes forward with some plans they would like to, they might want to extend some parking lot down there into our triangle. And some cities might say, how dare you? How dare you even consider doing that? And I just can't imagine being unreasonable like that. But it's this kind of partnership, as you said, Mr. Trumbull, Mayor Trumbull. It's the schools that make a city strong.
Absolutely.
So let's go forth and work together. And this is just the first step of a many-step process, but
It's either that or I'm going to keep parking my truck on the grass.
I was
anyway.
just going to say, better than
Just-
parking on the grass. And
Yes.
when we have a burn ban in place, then you know, probably can't park on the grass.
Only thing
All
that
right.
that I would add is that
good.
not all of us have a truck. So,
Right, that's right.
yeah, it's a pain parking your car on that grass. So total support.
Absolutely.
Total support.
This will be a good change. Okay, any other discussion before voting? All right, I think we beat that one to death. Please vote.
Four yes, an ordinance to amend the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, and the Southwoods Knoll Plan Unit Development Ordinance pertaining to Plan Unit Development District regulations and guidelines.
motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Four yes.
All right, now we've got an ordinance for the first reading for the establishment of the West Des Moines Community Schools PUD, which adds back that Valley Stadium piece to the PUD, keeping all the parcels owned by the school district together in that PUD. Can I get a motion?
Consider the first reading.
All right, can I get a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the dais? Hearing none, please vote.
That's like the worst one.
Four yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map in the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 9, Plan Unit Development District pertaining to PUD district regulations and guidelines.
Motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, that's approved. Item 6C, this is a time and a place for a public hearing to consider Forest Point Plat 1 easement vacation 7754 at 7786 Edgewood Court, approval of the storm sewer easement vacation and establish a replacement storm sewer and overland flow easement and lot tie agreement initiated by Ann E. Bailey Revocable Trust. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
July 6, 2026 in the Des Moines Register.
And have received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody in the audience would like to address the council on item 6C, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. If you're online, hit star 6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution for approval of the storm sewer easement vacation, establishment of replacement storm sewer and overland flowage easement, as well as a lot tie agreement, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would simply say this is just a, great example of staff working with somebody that's trying to get something done on their property to be reasonable and flexible and help them get that done. So I appreciate staff looking at this and trying to work with the individual to do what they're trying to do. So, okay, with that, please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, item 6D, this is a time and place for a public hearing to consider Cross Creek easement vacation 209, 225, 241, 257, and 273 Southeast Timberley Court. Approval of the public utility easement vacation and amended and restated public utility easement initiated by Savannah Development LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
July 8th, 2026 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody in the audience would like to address the council on this item, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit star 6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody either in the council chambers or online that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution for approval of the public utility easement vacation and amended and restated public utility easement, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion approved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's a moved and second. Is there any discussion? Maybe this is the one I was talking about, staff working with somebody to get something done, but either way, applies on both.
It does happen. It happens a lot.
It does happen a lot. Staff is great working with people if we can. So, all right, hearing no discussion, please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, before we get on to item 6E, I just want to recognize one of our state representatives, Mary Madison, who has arrived in the council chambers. Mary, welcome to the West Des Moines City Council chambers. Thanks for being here. All right, item 6E, this is the time and the place for a public hearing to consider amendment number 7 to the Coach Light Drive Urban Renewal Area initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
July 10th, 2026, in the Des Moines Register.
And received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody in the audience like to address the council on item 6E, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. If you're online, hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Does anybody want to address the council on this item? All right, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution amending the Coach Light Drive Urban Renewal Plan, and there are no outstanding issues. This is also approved unanimously by the Finance and Administration City Council Subcommittee, chaired by none other than Councilman Hudson.
Approve.
Okay, it's moved. Is there a second? It's moved and second. Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
4 yes.
Good, you're good. Okay, item 6F, we're being asked to continue the public hearing for the Eagle Brook LLC development agreement. Can I get a motion to
Motion to
continue?
continue.
Second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Please vote.
4 yes.
All right, item 6G, we are also being asked to continue the public hearing for the development agreement
Should continue.
for TIC Properties LLC. It's
Second.
been moved and seconded. Please vote.
4 yes.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Item 6H, this is the time and the place for public hearing to consider 1650 Southeast Moffett Lake Road, conveyance of an electric easement to Mid-American Energy Company initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
July 8th, 2026, in the Des Moines Register.
And have you received any written comment to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody in the audience who'd like to address the council on item 6H, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody either in the council chambers or online that would like to address council on this item? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And we've got a resolution for approval of the conveyance of property, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the dais? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 6I, this is the time and the place for a public hearing to consider Lot A, Etzel Properties Plat 1, conveyance of a portion of vacated South 78th Street and Cascade Avenue to Showjot Properties, Inc., initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
July 8th, 2026, in the Des Moines Register.
And have received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody in the audience who'd like to address the council on item 6I, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. If you're online, you know what to do. *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody either online or in the council chambers who'd like to address the council on this item? Going once, going twice. I will declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution for approval of conveyance of property, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, please vote.
4 yes.
All right, item 7, new business. Item 7A, Wells Fargo Solar Canopy, 800 South Jordan Creek Parkway. Approve major modification to the site plan for the development of solar canopies on the existing parking lot, initiated by Wells Fargo. We have got a resolution for approval of the major modification to the site plan, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'm excited that Wells Fargo is investing further into their campus, which is great. Obviously, there's been some news over the last year when it comes to that campus, but I'm still hoping that that investment in their really beautiful campus in West Des Moines will result in more job expansion in the future.
Absolutely. Yep.
But solar's great. I have solar panels. They're awesome.
Solar is great for the environment, good to shade people in their parking and everything else. And we will be meeting with Wells Fargo on August 17th and look forward to that meeting to discuss the future of Wells Fargo in West Des Moines and potential expansion and everything else.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote. I should, before we do the vote, is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to address council on this item? Should have asked that before. Anybody? All right.
4 yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 7B. We've got no parking zones on various streets. We've got a motion for approval of the traffic code amendments, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion approval.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Does anybody in the audience or online want to address the council on item 7B? Just a reminder, to hit star 6 if you are online. Is there any discussion on the dais? Hearing none, please vote.
4 yes, in order to amend the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 by amending provisions pertaining to the traffic schedules.
My first motion should have been to consider, so this is to approve, motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
That pinky was written up a little differently than we usually see.
Okay, thank you.
4 yes.
All right, item 8, receive, file, and/or refer. We will receive and file internal financial reports. Item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that any council person would like to bring up at this point in time for the good of the order?
One really quick one.
Okay.
This weekend, Councilwoman Elliott sent me a little video of Ms. Regina Turner, who is sitting in the crowd tonight, working with Hip Hope, and she had a whole bunch of kids she was working with, and she did a great job. I watched it. It was a Facebook reel, and one of the things she said really struck me. It was lead with love. So I want to thank you for working with these kids. You're doing excellent work.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, anybody else for the good of the order? If not, we are adjourned into our workshop, which will begin here in the next 5 minutes. So if you have to go to the bathroom, get something to eat, please do that, and we will reconvene into our workshop in 5 minutes, 6:48. Time, I just want to start off by introducing this issue. This is a workshop on Valley Junction Historic West Des Moines Design Guidelines. The purpose of the workshop is to provide the City Council with background information regarding historic West Des Moines Master Plan Design Guidelines and Council's request to explore making the guidelines enforceable. The presentation will explain why simply changing the guidelines from advisory should language to mandatory shall language would not by itself create a clear or legally defensible regulatory framework. It will also provide educational information on what qualifies a building as historic, why historic resources are considered community assets, and how historic preservation differs from preserving every older building within the Valley Junction Historic Business District. It is important to note that you will see and hear tonight what you hear and see tonight is conceptual in nature. The details will come forward later through an amendment to City Code, specifically the Historic Valley Junction Business Zoning District. This workshop is designed to give the council an opportunity to provide early direction on the overall approach for regulation and guidance of development within the district before any formal adoption of an amendment to the zoning district regulations. To allow adequate time for the presentation and council discussion, we will not be taking public comment this evening. However, residents and businesses are encouraged to reach out to city staff after the workshop with any questions or feedback that you may have. There will also be formal opportunities for public input as the zoning amendment moves forward through the adoption process. Finally, the presentation does include an opportunity for questions the council may have at the midpoint. You remember last time we were all confused on when it was our turn to ask questions. So at the midpoint of the presentation and at the end of the presentation, to help keep us on track and make the most of our time, I'd ask council members to hold questions until we reach those points in the presentation. Again, midpoint and end. Thank you, and now I will turn it over to Linda Schimmel.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Council, for spending your time with me tonight. I know you have obligations, and I'll try to get through this as fast as possible. But feel free to ask questions here at the two, segue points. And I will try to respond as much as possible. If necessary, I can follow up afterwards.
Tornado watch, so we can meet in the shelter and continue the presentation if necessary, right?
I will tell you, I ran a P&Z meeting from that hallway one time.
Wow.
So,
That's commitment.
yes. Okay, so why are we here tonight? This is really generated by the council's request to take a look at the historic West Des Moines design guidelines and see if they could be enforceable regulations. Tonight we're going to touch on really what makes a building historic. I think this is important groundwork to lay. And then we can have a broader discussion about why communities protect historic resources, what are the limitations in the current guidelines, how can we get a better result as far as regulation and direction, and then staff's recommendation on how to do that. First thought, not everything that's old is historic. Especially since I'm in that generation, that means you can't necessarily call me historic. Some of the common assumptions are if it's old, it's historic. The reality is that age alone does not make a building historic. Historic significance is based on more than years of existence. Historic buildings really kind of tell stories, not only about historic people or events, but how people lived back then, what technology was available, what resources and labor, historic events, especially world events like wars, the advent of air travel, all those affect architecture. And so really those buildings are telling us a story because they're a physical manifestation of what was happening at that time. And that's kind of a key element we're going to talk about several times in this presentation. So quick test, if the building was gone, would part of the community story be lost? So what makes a building historic? There's three key factors. Is it connected to an important event, person, or it represents community development? The other key element is it still looks substantially like it did during its significant period. Or it could be distinctive. It represents an important style, is rare or unique, or contributes to a larger historic district, meaning that a standalone building may not be distinctive by itself, but if its architectural qualities really kind of make the historic district significant, it's a contributing building. So things can be historic or they can be nostalgic. Historic could be community significance based on documented history or connected to a broader story. Nostalgic is a personal significance based on memories or connected to an individual experience. Now, I want to stress both of these are valuable. They're not the same thing. And this is especially important when we start talking about Valley Junction. So another thing we need to take a look at, historic buildings are really considered community assets. They tell our community story, they create identity and character, they establish a sense of place, they can support tourism and economic activity, and encourage reinvestment and reuse. So not all buildings are historic, but historic buildings are irreplaceable. So in essence, these historic buildings are private property, but they also have a public value. They're private investments, but they're also community resources. So when we're looking at policy decisions, it's not a question of should the owners of these historic buildings have rights? The policy question is what level of protection is appropriate for these buildings that provide that community-wide benefit. We're protecting the community's resources, not removing property rights. So that's a very broad overview of that what it makes things historic. You also should have a couple of flyers or handouts just to kind of talk on those two subjects. So questions before we dive into the other.
This is the midpoint where it's appropriate for
the midpoint,
questions.
so
Okay, any
let it rip.
questions for Linda? I mean, I think this makes total sense. I mean, I think you hear a lot of people coming up telling really amazing stories of, you know, going with their great-great-grandfather and, you know, buying a 5-cent pop at a building that used to be a gas station or something like that. And it's amazing, and it's cool to reminisce and think about, you know, if you were here at that point in time, what things looked like. But that does not qualify as historic. On the other hand, if, you know, this is something like, you know, the Valair Ballroom, I would assume, where there were significant events and history there, or something where James Jordan maybe, you know, worked, or there was the railroad building that served us way back when. I mean, those kind of things are historic. The other things are more nostalgic.
Right.
Okay, I
You
don't.
got it.
Makes sense. I mean, I guess I would just say in general, you know, we need to have that framework for everything we do moving forward. That said, I think everybody here, and I know if Councilman McKinney was here, he would say this, we want to make sure that we maintain the look and feel of Valley Junction, because it's even though it might be a little bit eclectic, it is a great look and feel, so.
Great segue.
Okay.
So how do we get an inventory of the historic buildings in Valley Junction?
Okay, so what we're going to do is use a resource that's already been established, and that is the historic commercial district that's established in the National Register, and any building that's listed with the National Register. The city itself is not going to create any kind of inventory or list. It's going to be something that's already been prepared and vetted.
While I don't want the city to necessarily work hard on creating something officially, I guess my question is, why not? Why wouldn't we have a list?
Well, one, we've
Like, the
already
list
done this.
exists, but why don't we take this and just combine it to have our own list? I know it exists, but more an official city list based mostly on what you just described.
Okay, so maybe if we can park that for just a second, I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Well, and also when you do, remind me the individual that we paid to do some kind of an inventory not that long ago, right? So I think we kind of do have that to some
Yeah.
extent, but he basically just used to the research to find what was historic.
And that was a
based on
very
the-
limited scope. It was
Yeah.
focused just in Valley Junction.
Right.
We have historic buildings all throughout the city.
Sure, yep. Okay, go ahead, Linda.
Okay, so what we have now for a framework is we have the Historic West Des Moines Design Guidelines. We have the Historic West Des Moines Master Plan. We have that historic district that's been designated. Within that district, we have contributing and non-contributing structures. And then we do have individual buildings outside of that historic district that are on the National Register. And lastly, we have the zoning ordinance. Right now, those guidelines currently function primarily as recommendations. Thus the name guidelines. So that's just setting the stage. So the core issue is we were asked, can we simply change the words in the guidelines from should to shall? Just that act will not create objective standards, clarify those decision-making criteria, improve consistency, reduce subjectivity, and resolve conflicting interpretations. Saying you shall follow doesn't necessarily negate the document when it says should. So it's not just the language we're using, it's the structure of the document. So, I've heard these basically from the start of having guidelines and actually before that. We've had some people say guidelines don't go far enough. More protection is needed. Others say the guidelines are confusing. Expectations are unclear. I don't know what to do. And regulations should be limited. Both of those issues are really coming from the same challenge, as the current document tries to be both regulation and guidance. So this is the regulatory approach we want to run through with you tonight. This is staff's recommendation. In essence, we're going to create two regulatory layers, and we're speaking just to the Historic Valley Junction Business District at this point. That's one of the most complex areas of zoning, but we think this is probably going to benefit the most from these two approaches. So a historic overlay that applies to designated historic buildings, and it focuses on preservation standards, the Secretary of Interior's standards on preservation. Second is a compatibility overlay. It applies to the other properties in Valley Junction. It's really focused on form and context. So those benefits allows us to have regulations that match the significance of the property without, or allows protection of those historic assets without additional administrative burden. When I talk about that administrative burden, really that's what I'm talking about is a CLG district, which historically has not been supported in West Des Moines. And for those who are not familiar with that, it's certified local government. With that comes a whole administrative burden. You're required to do a historic preservation ordinance, set up a historic preservation commission. That's where they start identifying properties that are potential historic buildings. They can designate local historic properties. The concern that I see with that is that there's really no desire to do that. And I think the buildings that need to be protected are suffering because of that. So this is an approach that avoids kind of all that administrative part of protecting buildings. Really, historic overlays are well established. We're not reinventing the wheel here. It's used throughout the country. And this is really kind of an evolving practice for cities to basically not regulate properties that are not historic the same way we regulate historic properties. We really want to put together some reasonable regulations and really designate the things that we believe are irreplaceable as something that needs to be protected. The other properties, even though they're not historic, are still important, and that's why the compatibility overlay is that second step in this process.
Just to give you some example, Iowa City is probably the closest city to us that is using that historic district and conservation district, that same setup. But, you know, cities as big as Los Angeles and Nashville use that same concept. They don't necessarily use that CLG historic commission, historic ordinance solution. I believe this is an appropriate match in the regulation based on what we want to protect as a community. So let's go a little deeper dive on this. Historic overlays, that's that targeted protection. It applies to historic district contributing properties and the National Register properties. We're going to focus on the preservation of those defining features as identified in the district building histories. This is what we're talking about is Jim Jacobson's analysis of those buildings are historic. Why are they contributing properties? We'll be using that basically for major alterations and additions and demolition review. The structure will be very similar to what we do now, where if it's a minor alteration, staff will use the administrative review process to take a look at whatever's proposed. We will source the Secretary of Interior's standards. We also source the district building histories to help navigate owners and developers when they're altering existing contributing properties. Major alterations and additions and a demolition review would be going up to a council level review. And again, this is in concept. We don't have a whole lot of detail yet to have you take a look at, and that will be part of that ordinance amendment when we go through that process. But this is the concept we want you to feel comfortable with. So again, that provides those objective standards. We're using what's already been identified as a historic property, and we're using the Secretary of Interior's guidelines standards. The guidelines that we have in place for West Des Moines, we're going to take those key ones that are important for preservation and incorporate them in the ordinance. The remaining guidelines are really going to be used as a resource, an illustrative guide of what we mean when we say this or this, when we talk about pattern, when we talk about historic materials. So one of the things that we want to do is kind of walk through what those two different analysis processes would be. So you heard me talk about defining features. That's where that the difference between whatever the contributing building has for original historic construction versus what those alterations are. So here's two facades here. Before I go any farther, fun fact, the one on the right is 2035. In 1925, it was the Harry Trevelyan Drug Confectionery and Newsstand.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Confection and newsstand. Wow. I knew we'd been around forever.
Yeah.
He was estranged from Kevin's family.
Yes. I didn't do that much research. So these examples I picked, we have the one on the left is really a 1920s style architecture and building. The one on the right was refaced in the 1950s to be that mid-century modern look. Those two eras, turn of the century and mid-century, are the two areas that we have the most development activity, and those are two of the eras that considered contributing because it really demonstrates how the city grew in the era of a whole bunch of turn of the century buildings and the mid-century buildings. I can tell you when I've done research that when the mid-century buildings were built, they were very controversial. Now they've just kind of become part of the pattern in Valley Junction. But so both of these buildings are contributed. Both of them are built in separate eras. So the facade, 1920s facade, is that something we would want to maintain and keep? Because that's original historic material and it's contributing, and it's a defining feature of that contributing building. Now what we call the infill, which is in this building, is the doors and the windows. Those are not sympathetic to the 1920s period. They're aluminum framed windows. They're not wood windows. They don't have the same detailing that the original openings had. When you have a historic building, we're not going to come and say you need to replace those because they're not appropriate infill. This is only being generated when something is being changed in those openings. That's where we start working with the owner or the developer on what's appropriate for those infills. Windows especially are subject to replacement just because you had wood frames with single pane glass, they're leaky, they don't work anymore. When they're replaced, we want to make sure that they're replaced with something that's appropriate to that 1920s period. Now, the 1960 building, the two openings actually were installed in 1970 and 1990. But they are the aluminum frame windows, which was appropriate in that 1960 period. And so we would say that's sympathetic to the 1960s period. And that would be something that we wouldn't necessarily ask to be changed. Now, if you're changing it, we want to make sure you're going to keep that sympathetic storefront. That makes sense? So then we switch to the compatibility overlay. So we're looking at protecting the pattern, not the style. These are the properties that are not contributing or designated as historic buildings. We're going to focus on the compatibility within that existing context. Building placement, scale and massing, orientation, streetscape compatibility. It's going to encourage the new buildings that go into this space to fit comfortably within the Valley Junction streetscape, respect the scale and rhythm of the historic buildings, use durable, high-quality materials, and add to the district character without copying a historic building. That's a key important fact. So how do you do that? How do you make a new building fit with the old buildings? So this is one of my favorite examples down in downtown Des Moines. So on the left is a historic building, on the right is a modern building. So we start looking at all those patterns and elements of these two buildings. Both have cornices. One is a decorative cornice, one is a stylized cornice. Both of them have a top, middle, and bottom building massing. Both of them have a brick exterior. Both of them have 4 floors of double windows. Both of them have light-colored lintels and square stone columns at the bottom. Both of them have storefront windows, and both of them have their buildings placed right up along the street edge. So very different architecture, but the building that's new is really making an effort to be compatible with the building that's old. So what happens with existing guidelines? We keep them. They still remain valuable, and we really kind of recommend that. Again, the amendment to the zoning district really wants to achieve that protection where appropriate and gives you that shall language. Guidelines are educational, used to explain expectations and illustrated approaches. We will use the guidelines for both the historic overlay and the compatibility overlay. So the important shall language is in the ordinance itself. It's not in the guidelines. It becomes a tool rather than an ordinance. So a couple of reasons why we're recommending this approach. It protects the historic resources, which I think everybody wants to have, but also supports investment, redevelopment, and property owner flexibility. We want to make sure that people feel comfortable reinvesting into this area, and having this approach gives them the protectability and still provides that flexibility because everything is unique down there. We can't have a one and done solution. Provides clear expectations of what's to be protected and what is to be compatible in the district. It will come up with more consistent outcomes, better administrative efficiency, and it really avoids that full preservation commission structure or converting those lengthy guideline documents into regulation. So here we are. It's time for questions. I have 2 for you, and then you can ask me questions. First of all, I would like to know, are you in agreement with staff's recommended approach? And then, are there any modifications you feel are critical or necessary? So I'll open it up to the council.
Can I start out by just asking, explain again to me as simply as you possibly can. You've got the overlay, and where does that apply to? That applies to historic West Des Moines, it applies to just Fifth Street, it applies to, where is it overlaid?
Okay, so at this point, we are just talking about Valley Junction. And what I've got here is a map. That's a Valley Junction Historic Business District. Obviously, we have more area we consider Valley Junction, but that is a zoning ordinance footprint. That's where we're going to apply it at this point in time. And it will have two overlays. It will have the historic overlay, which is pretty much going to focus on that commercial district contributing properties, and then other properties in the district that aren't in the commercial district. For example, St. Kilda's is on the National Register, but it's not in the historic commercial district.
The footprint of the two things are different.
Right. And so when we think of this as a PUD with parcels. So the historic buildings will be one parcel that's got the historic overlay requirements. And then the buildings that are either not contributing or not part of that commercial district are the second parcel. So we're regulating them different. They're all within that same zoning district.
Okay. So on this map, the marked in, and I'm really colorblind, so I'm sorry, but it marked in red here, Historic Valley Junction Business District. And then there's like this white outline. So one applies to the red, the other applies to the white? No. One applies to historic buildings, the other applies to everything else that's not historic.
So the white boundary is where that historic commercial district is designated. And that's the one that's on the National Register. Within that district, there are some buildings that aren't contributing. Those would not have the historical overlay applied to them. Those would have the compatibility overlay applied to them.
Okay, so historic overlay applies to contributing, meaning historical significance, contributing buildings.
Yes. And then outside of that
Outside of that, but still on Fifth,
would be buildings that are historic because they've been listed on the National Register.
okay, National Register versus contributing.
Right,
They're contributing to our history, but they're not historic.
yeah. And a lot of
Okay.
it is just the nomenclature of a historic district that has, here, let me,
So you're basically encompassing and trying to protect all buildings that are historic and on the National Register, and then for all buildings that are not, but are contributing to the history, they're also covered.
yes.
But in a
So-
different way.
Yes, so I'm going to say, I don't want anybody to get the opinion that if you're not a historic building, you're not important. To use that same language, all those buildings in Valley Junction are contributing in some form or fashion. What we're saying is the historic buildings that have been designated are really like a first edition signed copy of a book.
Right.
They're basically irreplaceable. So we're going to put that layer of protection on them because of their importance and how much they contribute to the community. Now there's, let's say that was in a library. So that library has a whole bunch of books that are very valuable and contribute in different ways. What we're saying is these are important enough to protect because we can't replace them.
But we're basically having two layers of protection. The ones that are really, 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 really important because they're historic and they're on the National Registry, those have this set of guidelines.
Correct.
Other buildings, hey, you're not historic, but you're contributing. We want to protect you too. So you're also going to be protected in this overlay, right?
It's going to be a compatibility overlay.
Compatibility overlay.
Yes.
And the rules and regulations of the two different protections, the most protected is the historic or National Registry of Historic Places. That's most protected.
Correct.
And what, then we're going to put a certain set of guidelines on that.
Yes.
And the others that are contributing, it's going to be definitely some guidelines to try to protect them, but it's not going to be as protective.
Correct.
Okay.
Are there, did I hear you say that there's buildings outside of the commercial district that are historic?
Well, there's like I said, St. Kilda's been listed, and that's outside of the
Why
historic.
wouldn't we include those?
We are, because that's in this district. Those two choices are either they're contributing buildings within the historic commercial district, or they're buildings that are listed on the National Register. Those are the two qualifying aspects.
Okay. I thought you were just going after the ones that were in the commercial.
No, no. I mean, and we have buildings that are not in the Valley Junction zoning district, such as Bel Air, Jordan House. Those are all historic buildings too. It's just right now we're applying it just to the existing Valley Junction Historic Business District zoning district.
So are there any buildings down there, and this may be a question you can't answer, but are there buildings down in Valley Junction, from basically railroad to Vine, that could be on the National Registry, but they just were never put on the registry?
Yes.
So if they do get put on the registry, would they then fall under these guidelines?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not it happens today and that's it, and now you're on tomorrow and you're not.
Right.
But I think I want to make sure that we make this point though, because we have dealt, as everybody knows, with 3 properties that, are on another street that are not, that it doesn't apply to this, right? And 2 of them were torn down and 1 of them is still up. But I think when people are talking about, putting in place the design guidelines, codifying those, I think some people are thinking that applies to the historic West Des Moines district, that there's these design guidelines, it's gonna go over the entire thing. It's the business district that we're dealing with design guidelines.
Yes, today we are dealing with just that business district. That's not to say, if we feel that this is successful, that at least the compatibility overlay would be applied to the remaining areas of Valley Junction.
But if a home, like, Renee Johanningmeyer has a home that's, I don't know if it's, I don't want to use the word historic, but it's pretty cool and it's been around.
Yeah, it would be.
Maybe it's-
Telephone building, I don't know what's on the registry.
Yeah,
But it could be on there, it's a home and it's, I think, off the beaten path here, but it could be historic and on the National Registry. And if it is, to the extent that it is, this will apply to that too.
that's our intent. Right now, since it's outside of the business district, it wouldn't happen with this effort. But as we expand this and capture the rest of Valley Junction, it's our intent to follow that.
Okay,
that same
you're
template.
confusing me now though because
Okay.
of Councilman Trevillion's question and my question. And I guess what I thought you just answered to Kevin was that if it's on the registry, then it's captured in what we're doing.
Yeah, and I
Whether it's in this business district or over there.
Yeah.
No, it was,
Right.
if it was, my question was, she had if you back up to that slide so we can see this better. She had the one that was outlined in white, which was the commercial district. She had the rest of it that was the business district. My question was, is it only buildings on the National Registry that are in the white area that we're considering, or is it everything in the historic Valley Junction Business District? And she said it's everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We-
it's,
we
so I
have-
guess Renee's, the old telephone exchange building that Renee owns is not in this district, so it wouldn't be.
At this point in time.
Right, at this point in time.
Yeah, there's the potential as you go farther north from the commercial district of buildings that I know qualify. It just takes the initiative of the owner to put it on the register. Right now, West Des Moines has had a history of not, as a city, working to designate a property. It's really been driven by the owners or by, it was really kind of the organization of property owners that wanted to put this commercial district in place So none of these were driven by the city. They were driven by the people who care for the buildings.
Okay, what other questions do we have for Linda at this point, Greg?
I don't have any questions. I'll just make a comment quick. And the storm's coming close, so, and my windows are open in my truck, so,
Oh, boy.
yeah, I want to get those
Excuse yourself
shut.
and go out.
I think, like, I'm in favor of these things. I think they're a good idea, but I'm going to look to Councilman Trevilian, Councilwoman Elliott, and Councilman McKinney for direction, and that's kind of where my heart is at on this. I have a say in this, but I don't represent these folks, so I'm going to lean on the people who do. And that's my thoughts.
I agree with Councilman Lotz on that exact comment. So love to hear from the wisdom of our three colleagues here. Two quick questions. Number one, so in the case, will this affect structurally unsound buildings? We talk about the longest yard. I can't remember if it was on there, but it was completely and utterly structurally unsound based on 2 engineers' reports.
It wasn't the district.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was in the district. Was it an official building too? Would any change in the guidelines affect that? I don't want to tear down any building. I don't want to tear down anything. But if there's something fundamentally structurally unsafe and it would be cost prohibitive, what is done if we adopt this way? What would be done in the future?
So I would say when we adopt this, it's not going to protect an owner from the obligation to maintain their building. They can't just say, well, it's historic. I have to leave it as is. That's wrong. What we're looking for is, okay, it's historic context that we cannot replace. So discussions about the obligation to, not necessarily bring it to something that's new or restored, but protect it. Make sure the water doesn't get into it. Make sure that maintenance has happened. And if you as an owner is not willing to restore it, somebody else might. And if you're taking the care to keep it protected by maintaining it and making sure it doesn't leak, et cetera, that's what we're asking.
Okay. And then second, you showed us that First National Bank. I love that building. It's such a great looking building. But you were talking about the windows. So the windows are, what was the word you used? Non-synchronous? No.
Non-sympathetic.
Non-sympathetic.
Yes.
Which means basically, and I assume you don't mean the actual glass of the windows. I assume you mean the frame of the building.
The frame,
of the
yes.
windows, right?
Yes.
So basically, but that facade would need to be maintained, right?
Yes, the facade is original character. We want to protect it.
Yep.
If someone takes the initiative to restore it and are putting new windows in those openings and new doors in the openings, we would like to see that as close as possible to what that historic window and door looked like.
Even though right now it's not sympathetic.
Right.
All right, but if
Yeah,
there was a
but I'm not-
restoration of the windows. Okay.
I'm not going to say to anybody that it's not sympathetic to the style of the building. You need to replace it right now.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted some specific examples. You have shed light on that. Thank you very much, Linda. I appreciate your time.
Well, and years ago, I mean, we dealt with this. We brought somebody in, right, from cultural affairs or something to talk to us about, making the area, what did you call it again? The designated zone?
Compatibility?
No, like it doesn't matter. Conservation zone or whatever it was called. We had the lady into Finance Administration, City Council Subcommittee, and it just, while we want to make sure that we protect our history and preserve our history, we also want to be reasonable and sensible and not put some really ridiculous regulations in place that in doing so make it so unreasonable and so costly for somebody that took time to buy this property and own this property to be able to, rehab it, refurbish it. And that's what you have to be careful of and why we didn't put that, or why we didn't, look at this in the past, because all of a sudden, I mean, you guys have no idea what you get into. You've got not just our staff looking at it, you all of a sudden have the SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office. You go to change the windows and you got to have somebody from there come out, look at them, make sure these are historic, and they're not, so they got to be this window instead, and then it's hard to find them, it's more expensive, and it's.
And that's why I'm not as wrapped up on what the windows are. Now, if we'll use the First National Bank building, if they went in and instead of having, I don't know if they had 4 windows across, if they went in and changed that and had just one big window, that's different. But the fact that they've got aluminum clad windows versus wood clad, to me, that's not that big of a deal. And I think about the old Reiner Brother Plumbing building, which is now the Foundry building, when Al Schroeder redid that. The windows up at the very top, you know, he didn't put in period correct windows, so he didn't get his historic tax credits, and he didn't care. He put in what he wanted. The average person driving by there looks at that, they're not going to be able to tell if it's period correct or not. They just know that that cool old railroad building from 18 whatever is still standing. And to me, that's what's more important. Just like the original West Bank building at 5th and Maple, just like the First National Bank building, things like that. I think it's more important to make sure that the building itself stays versus what kind of windows they're putting in, or doors.
So this may help, like I said, the historic material, the stuff that was there when the building was built, that's historic and contributing, that's the thing we're going to protect the most.
Yes.
We don't want that to be damaged or go away. Now, the things that are not historic have been swapped out over the years. We're not necessarily concerned about going back to the exact historic character. The guidelines have kind of different levels, and there's one level called basically reversible. If you can tell me that you can take that out without hurting the building, what you put in necessarily be historic in character. Now, there's that larger conversation about, does it still contribute to the context? So those things that are not historic material, we'll be looking at, does it contribute to the context? We won't necessarily say, oh, you know, it should have been 1 3/4 rather than 1.5 inch framing. We're not going to get down to that level. And there's other options. The first is what you have that's historic, protect it, repair it.
And to Kevin's point, and to contradict what I just said, I mean, this will potentially help people that, you know, unlike, you know, what they did in that building. I mean, they didn't get their historic tax credits to be able to do that, and that's a pretty significant financial contribution to the rehabbing of that building. So doing what we're doing right now might help those people to stop from, you know, negating getting those tax credits too, which you get at the state and the federal level, potentially.
So I don't want you to get the impression that all these problems are solved and it's going to be easy peasy.
No.
We're still telling people who have historic buildings they need to protect their buildings.
Right.
That may not be what they want to do or they care to do. So we will still have issues where we have to work through it. But for the most part, it's going to be a lot better situation than the current situation.
Okay. Councilwoman Elliott has questions, but what if these people don't do? What? Oh, you know. Okay. What if they don't do that? What if they have no teeth? We have no teeth in this, do we? I mean.
Well, and that's why the historic overlay will have requirements.
They will have what?
They will have regulations, not
Okay, so
guidelines.
we say that you've got to, you know, use this brick or use this window or do whatever, and they say, too bad.
No, we're saying you have to follow the Secretary of Interior standards.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Within the standards, there's flexibility.
What happens if they don't follow it? Look, we're not
Well,
going to
it's
follow
the
it. I'm
same
just
as-
telling you right now, I'm not going to follow it.
Yeah.
Have your attorney call my attorney.
But even less than that, what if they just decide that either I can't afford or I don't want to pay to put a new roof on it? I'm going to keep putting patches on top of patches on top of patches on top of patches. That, I mean, what teeth do we have in that?
The key is that as a building owner, whether your building is historic or not, there's an obligation to protect it. Basically because we need to make sure when people are in that building, it's safe. You know, we're not talking about what color paint it is or anything like that, but you need to maintain the building so it's safe. That's the city's responsibility. We're then going that next level and say, this is historic elements or materials that we want to protect and not let deteriorate.
But again, what teeth do we have? Because if the longest yard building was still standing and it had the issues, and I think the major one was a roof.
And water, yeah.
Water because the roof was leaking. What legal abilities do we have to go in, to be able to go in and make them put a roof on it?
Okay, so this is in the zoning ordinance for planning. Any kind of violation of that ordinance is basically a municipal infraction.
That's there now.
Right.
Well, we didn't do it because Longest Yard
Exactly.
building got
This is-
bulldozed.
If someone doesn't want to do it, it's not going to be an easy process. That's why the city's got to say, these characteristics, these buildings are important to us to protect. And this is putting an onerous requirement on somebody that may not want to do that. When I say onerous, it's just because they don't necessarily want to do that. They don't care for the building as much as somebody else. Those are the situations that's going to be hard to navigate. I will tell you, it's going to be tough. But the guidelines now, we can't tell anybody to do anything. We can talk about what you should do. These are our expectations. So this is that additional level, but it's not, we're not going to be able to solve the problem of people not wanting to do what's required of them.
Guess we'll cross
But
that.
you just said that we did by the, like with Longest Yard, if that was still standing, we would have the ability to go in and make them put a roof on it, but it didn't happen. You said that's already there,
Okay, so part of
but we're not doing it.
we are asking them to protect their buildings. But that's really at the level of property maintenance. We're not saying you have to rip all that off and put a new roof on. We're saying you have to make it watertight. So that damage doesn't, I guess, keep going on or it doesn't occur.
But what level do we have to go in and find out, did they do it and is it watertight?
There is a few different opportunities we can to basically define what our abilities are to investigate any kind of deferred maintenance, any issues, structural, et cetera. Most of it is still going to be observing it from the outside. There would have to be something that was significant for us to say, we need to go inside there, or you need to give us a structural evaluation. Again, it's not going to solve every problem, but part of this is setting that expectation that these buildings are important not only to you, but to the community. And the zoning ordinance is not the tool to keep people from ignoring what we are asking for as far as property maintenance. We have some teeth in the property maintenance code, but like I said, we're just making sure the buildings are safe to inhabit it.
Do we have the ability, and this is a question for Greta, do we have the ability to use drones to go in and inspect the top of a building? Because unless somebody lets us in the building to climb up their access ladder, we're not gonna know unless we got a drone or somebody lets us use their helicopter.
That's a good question. I think you could have.
Yeah.
Technically, in real estate law, they have rights all the way up, right, to a certain.
They do, and there's a certain expectation of privacy and how close you're coming to it. That's something we definitely could take a look at.
I think we need to.
Yeah, I think we need to look into all of this. We're not going to have the answers tonight, but I think we definitely need to look into all this and what
We
we can
are
do if
getting
somebody's
into the
not
weeds a
taking
little
care of
bit.
their
Right,
building.
but
We
I just,
understand that's a
Yeah.
desire, and it's important. And we've talked with legal on a couple different avenues, but I don't have specifics to share with you.
sure, but I think
just
that's
wanna
stuff
make
we need
sure-
to look at because,
Yeah.
and I'm in favor of what you're talking about, but again, it comes down to, if you don't have a decent roof on your building, you don't have anything.
Yep, totally agree.
But when you've got a building that's 3 or 4 stories tall and the ones next to it are shorter, you can't look out the window and see what the roof looks like. I mean, so,
So tonight, we want to make sure that you guys are comfortable with this, that you support the recommendation from staff. And then if that's the case, then we're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty and figuring out those criteria. But we fully understand the concern about people not maintaining their building.
and I'm very much in favor of expanding this as soon as we can, because again, Val Air is a prime example of it. It's not even in this area. Now granted, Sam Summers went in and put a boatload of money into it and saved it, but at the same time, it could have been the next Longest Yard building, so.
Yep.
And like you said, we've got a lot of those buildings throughout you know, the older parts of West Des Moines.
Don't forget, we helped Sam to save that building too. We
Right.
put $2.5 million in.
Right.
I mean, it was an expensive ordeal, right?
And we put a lot of money into Historic City Hall, but that was a very significant building for the city.
Okay, I'm in favor of.
Yeah, I like the direction you guys are going. I think it makes sense. I think, you know, the devil's in the details, and we'll have plenty more discussion, as I indicated at the beginning, once you guys bring us something a little bit more concrete for us to look at, and there will be time for public comment and all that kind of stuff as well. But I like where you're going. I think the way I'm looking at it is, you've got two different layers of protection. Protection for buildings that are on the National Historic Registry. I don't know, I never can remember the name of it. And then you've got the ones that are contributing buildings. I think the big argument's going to become, you know, what's contributing and what's not, you know, and someone's going to say, this is contributing. We're going to say, no, it's not, based on these criteria, it's not. Then we're going to hear the story about grandpa going down to buy the pop and, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have third-party experts telling us which ones are contributing or which ones are historic. That's not
Okay.
something at staff level we're going to decide. We're going to use those resources.
Yep, okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns on this?
I'll just make it real short and sweet. If we don't have the manpower to be enforcing, we're creating something that we're not even going to have time or efforts to be able to do. It just concerns me when we set up a practice, we set this up without going all the way through in terms of enforcement. Someone's going to have to enforce this.
Yes, someone's going to have to enforce it. It's just, do we have the teeth behind it? And with it being in the zoning ordinance, it's not something that is going to be quick, and it's not something that's really going to have the ability to make a material difference if the owner doesn't want to do it.
Just curious, Steve is back there, and I'm not going to put him on the spot right now, but I would be interested to see how the Historic Valley Junction Foundation, what their read is on this recommendation that you're giving.
And that's certainly something that's going to be our next step. Before we went to the foundation or any other stakeholder group, we wanted to make sure we're going down the right path with the council. Yeah, well, and like I said, this is going to be a long process. When we start getting more details, people can react to more stuff, and you can. But what we didn't want to do is go that far down the path and then have the council say, no, we're not going to do this.
Oh, this makes sense. Thank you.
I agree. I think you guys are on the right path. It makes sense. Again, the devil's in the details. Let's see what you guys bring forward, and then let's have additional deliberation, public feedback and input, and I think we'll come up with something that is as good as we can possibly come up with, and then we will defer to legal on, you know, what kind of teeth we have to be able to enforce these things and get done what we want to get done, which is maintaining the look and feel of Valley Junction and maintaining and preserving our historic buildings and those that are contributing, so. Okay, any other questions, comments before we adjourn the workshop? Anything else that staff needs? Linda or Lynn or Brad or Jamie or Tom or Greta?
I just want to
Ryan.
thank you for all the work you've done for this, because I think it's going to be huge, so I appreciate it.
I agree.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. We are adjourned.